everybody. I have to continue recording. So, yep, there we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to spring, even though it doesn't feel like spring and it was snowing, it was yucky, but we're still going to know that it's spring and continue crafting for spring. So welcome to my messy craft room. I cleaned up a little bit, but still looks really messy looking at the video. But, you know, the reason of a very creative mind is a very messy craft room. So I'll say I'm very creative. So welcome to everybody who's live. Welcome to everybody who's going to watch later for the video. We are going to make this little sock bunny. These are really fun to make. Get a pair of socks. You can use your old socks that you have. You can buy brand new socks. Use your old ones and wash them. But you can use any kind of thing. You can use any kind of sock with this. I like the long tube socks to make them a little bigger, but you can use kids socks. You can use socks with heels. For this particular craft, I'm using a very, very long tube sock. The problem is when you get a sock with a heel is you have to make that heel part the face. So I like this one because we're adding arms to this one. So I really liked the length of a long tube sock. You can make these and you don't have to have arms, but I'm going to show you the full scope of it. The other thing that you can do is, this is kind of the difference. This is a bunny that I sewed. I took the time to actually sew the seams. So I sewed the arms and I sewed the ears. It takes a while, it takes a little while. I didn't do it on my sewing machine. I just hand sewed it because that's how I thought we were going to do this craft. And then I saw how long it was taking. So just know that every step in the process that I'm talking about, you can use a sewing needle and sew it. Today, we're going to use our glue gun. So if you don't have your glue gun plugged in already, plug your glue gun in. If you do want to go ahead and sew this, you know, watch the steps, take the time to do it, and then you'll just see what we're doing, and then you can sew them later on. But definitely can be done in both processes. I didn't see much of a difference with a glue gun seam. You really can't see it. So that's why I thought it was going to be okay to go ahead and glue gun this. Any kind of step saver, I'm all for. So we're going to do that. Again, with any socks, we can make this little guy. You need something ballast for the bottom, just so they're not so tippy. You can do this like we make the gnomes. You can do it over a food container if you want to save some of the stuffing. You can put this over a container and that'll give it a nice flat bottom. Stones from outside, go ahead. If you were able to pick up a kit, in your kit, you are going to get a very, very long tube sock. I ended up getting these on Amazon. Because I could not find any tube socks around here that did not have any color in them. So I ended up getting these on Amazon. They were very, very reasonable. Big pack of those. You have packages of marbles. That's what we're going to use for our ballast at the bottom. You have some, everybody's got kind of some different ones, but there's ribbons and a nice little piece of twine just for a cute little bow and a tassel thing. You can tie it into bow. You don't have to make it the way I'm making it. I liked the kind of like the farmhouse country version. With that, you usually get, I don't want to use the word ratty edges because that sounds junky, but tattered is a better word. Tattered edges. Nothing is really perfectly crisp and clean. That gives the farmhouse look. It's cute country look. So I'm going to show how to make this little tassel around the bunny's neck and a little bow. And then I chose to put arms on the bunny. With the arms, you can actually have the bunny hold anything. I've included a little plastic egg because we're celebrating spring, Easter, renewal, you know, birth of new bunnies and chicks and eggs and everything. So decided to go with that, but anything could be used. You also, I am going to, because I wanted it to always hold the egg, so I glued the hands right to the egg. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to be able to change things out for your bunny to hold, when we get to that part, we'll just glue the tips of the hands together. That way you can put anything in there. If you want to put silk flowers, if you want to put, I found these really cute carrots at the Dollar Tree, you know, anything that you want the bunny to hold, just don't glue the arms to it, leave them open. We have beads for the eyes. If you have buttons at home, if you have basically anything, you could do Google eyes. I like to use the supplies that the library has. They have these really cute buttons. I mean, these cute beads. If you look, it's really cute. It has a flower. I like, all of them had flowers on them. I like the flower for the nose. And then I just did the plain eyes, but if you want to have the flowers be for the eyes too, go ahead and do that. Really cute. If you don't like the colors of your beads, they can be painted, so just don't glue them on yet. They have a little bunny tail. They have these at Dollar Tree. You can use cotton balls. If you don't have cotton balls, you can make a pom-pom with white yarn and use that. And polyfill. Polyfill is a great stuffing. If you want to make more of these and you don't have polyfill, use whatever things that you have around your house. You can recycle clothing to stuff it in there. Excuse me, plastic bags, plastic container bags, like even like bread bags, things like that. Wash them out, get all the crumbs out so there's not bugs and mold. You can stuff it with that, so you don't have to use the polyfill. So lots of different options there. Inside of your egg, if you got the kit, I put the beads for the eyes and the nose. So you're going to want to take those out, set those aside so they don't roll around. So I'm going to put that off to the side right now. I'm going to turn my camera around. So this way now you can see the table. See what I'm doing. You don't need to really see me, but it was great seeing all of you. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can maybe see what I'm doing. And we're going to go from here. So at home, you should have a glue gun plugged in. If you do not own a glue gun, the library does have glue guns that you can borrow. So that's a great service that they have. They do have them at the Dollar Tree for $1. I don't know the quality of them. I've never used one, so I'm not sure. You could probably use Elmer's glue to hold it down as well. But if you're going to do that, then you really want to have that dry and set before you flip it inside out. So then you'd want to watch the video, glue it, wait, go back to the video to get that out. And you also need a pair of scissors. So as you can see, all socks vary in size. This is a really long one. And we're going to do things kind of backwards. It's weird, but we're going to do it. We're going to flip the sock so your opening is up at the top. That is going to become your ears. Up at the top here will be your ears. Excuse me. I like to use the ribbed part of it to give it a little bit of texture. So that will be the texture for the ears. We're going to actually cut the bottom, and you would think, why would we want to cut a bottom since it was already nicely sewn in there and it's already a finished bottom? If you want to use arms, add the arms to it, then you're going to need to cut the bottom. If for some reason you don't want arms, you want a bunny without arms, well, then you don't have to cut the bottom. I like the arms though. I think it just adds a nice little touch. There are no specific measurements for this at all. It's basically just kind of what you see and how long you want them to be. I'll show you. I kind of put my hand down and used it as a measurement of where I wanted to cut for my arms. So I just kind of put my hand there and I said, okay, that's a good sized bunny. So I'm going to take my scissors and just cut straight across. Again, however long you want your arms to be, I have found a hand width length is really good. That still gives me an awful lot of sock left for the bunny. So now that I've cut my bottom off, to get even hands, I'm going to just fold this in half. Again, if you are really wanting to be specific and you want to measure, divide it in half, draw a line, cut along the line. I like to skip steps anytime I can and make it easy. So I'm just going to fold this right in half. And then you can see where it's in half. I'm going to hold it so it stays in half. Doesn't, true measurements, it doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to hold it like that. I'm going to put my scissors in, and the way I folded this again was I'm going to put both closed sides together, keeping my closed sides together, holding it and turning it up. So now you can see the bottom there. I'm just going to put my scissors up into that spot, kind of lift a little to make sure that it's straight. And I'm just going to cut that right in half, keeping my edges together, cutting right in half. So now I have two perfect halves. Again, if they're not exactly equal, that's fine. It's most of it's going to be hidden, but you're all right with that. So with these hands, we might as well continue on with the hands. We're going to take it. We're going to turn it inside out, fold it back over so you can see. Now you've got the inside. Some of you might look at this and say, oh, this is really cool. What a neat texture this terry cloth is, and wouldn't the bunny be cute with that? The only thing I would say to that is, yes, it's cute if you're not going to move it around a lot. I have found that these do pull out and kind of fall around in a lot of places. So if you're not going to move your bunny a lot, sure, decide to go inside out, but it does have a tendency to flake around. So I'm going to keep it with the smooth look. So because we're hot gluing, if you don't already have, if you've seen my videos before, I love this little silicone mat. It catches it all. Put a piece of wax paper down for yourself. Anything that you can use to glue on. I also like the silicone rubber fingers to be able to hold it down. If you don't have that, a great tool is chopsticks or a pencil. They're great for holding things on. You just don't want to burn yourself with the hot glue. So you just want something that will hold things down. I am going to put this on my mat so I can glue it on here. So I'm not getting, I have a plastic tablecloth, but if it protects your surface, but it's still, if you get hot glue on it, it's going to give little holes around. So I'm just going to try to avoid that. I have some really cheap glue gun sticks and they drip like crazy. I heard a tip that if you store your glue sticks in the freezer, they won't drip. I haven't tried that yet, but I may have to try that. So what we want to do is very close to the edge, as close to the edge as you can get. And we're going inside out. You flipped it. So if you want the fuzzy side, flip it back. If you want the smooth side to be your outside, flip it inside out. So whatever end you want, line it up, and we're going to drip a thin layer of glue right along the edge, kind of as close to the edge as you can get. So we're going to glue that down. Then very carefully, just line up those edges and close that seam. Again, take your chopstick, your pencil, your fingers, your glue gun fingers, and just close that edge. I like to do it and then just set it aside, let it really glue up. So now we're going to do, again, I apologize for all these strings. These are really cheap glue sticks. So we're going to flip it around again, inside out, lay it down on our surface, kind of gather our edges here, flip it back a little bit, and we're going to glue that edge again. Make sure you do a good even stream of glue along the edge, because if you have any holes, it is going to open up a bit. Not really a problem because you're not going to see it really, but all right, we're closing it down on that. I'm going to take my pencil, just push it down, and then kind of squeeze it. So I've gone through, I can see the glue all through there. I'm just going to set that aside for now, just to let it really set. Now we're going to come over to the bunny. Turn this, as you can see, the little sock pieces when you cut this terry cloth stuff, it's everywhere. So I apologize for the mess in your house. What you're going to do is we're going to use this whole length of ribbing right here for the ears. So we're going to do the same thing. Let's fold the sock in half. I'm going to have that be totally in half. I'm going to hold it. I'm not going to worry about this rib part. I'm just going to cut right in half. And again, that was the two closed ends folded to each other. And I'm just going to cut down right to the edge of the ribbing. So when I open that up, I have a closed edge, open edge, closed edge. If for some reason you folded it wrong and you somehow cut the other side, no big deal. You just we'll just cut it. We'll just glue it. With this bunny, I kept some of the edge on there, and you can see it kind of made, it looks like a foot to me. I see this and I just can't not see a foot the way it was cut. So I'm going to take this little rib cuff part off. I'm just going to cut that right off, just so I have a smoother spot, just because it's so thick. So I'm just going to cut that right off. So a little bit of extra there. This is where your decorative style can come into play. If you want to do a little curve to your bunny ear to give it a point, you can do that. If you want just a flat, floppy ear, you can do that. So I'm going to fold this in half again, just to try to get them even, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to try to get, so I have closed end, line them up. And this is just so it's even, somewhat even. So I have my closed end here, my closed end here. These are all my open ends. And I'm just going to hold it, and I'm going to kind of cut a triangle off just to give myself a point of an ear. And again, it doesn't really matter because we don't care if it's completely even, but that just kind of gives it a cute little rounded pointy bunny ear. So that's how that looks. So you can see the edges. So We also have to turn this inside out. So just stick your hand in, pull it inside out, because now we're going to have to glue our ears. If you are wanting to do this again, and you're going to do a needle and thread, what you would do is start up at the top of the ear, either on your machine or hand thread, hand sewing. Sew all the way down there. Really give a couple good sews around in this middle spots, just so when your ears flop down, you don't have any openings here. And then sew up to the other edge of the ear. And because I said that with the sewing, now that's what we're going to do with the glue gun. So we're going to lay one of the ears down. Remember, we're still inside out. We're going to line it up again. Now, because that's a cut tip, you really want to make sure you get glue right up to the tip. I'm going to do just a little bit there, so I can do a little bit at a time. So you can see I'm just gluing my tip right now. So there is my tip. I've pushed it closed. I'm going to continue on down, all the way down. And again, it doesn't matter if you don't line them up perfectly, because we're going to be turning this inside out. You just want to make sure, because we're turning it inside out, you have glue really well right on the edges. Otherwise, you'll have gaps. Again, I'm going to take my pencil. I'm going to flip this over, so I'm not going to burn my hands. And I'm just going to kind of tap it on down, make sure that I've caught everything. That's the nice thing with the glue gun. It's kind of like instant satisfaction that it dries really quick, even with fabric. Pick off some of those strings just to get them out of the way. So I've got one ear almost done. I'm going to continue on to the bottom of the ear and around the top of the head. So I'm just going to glue there, glue a little corner there, push that down, push that down. We're going to be hiding the top part of the head. So if you have a little bit of glue showing right up on top, no one's going to see that because we're going to have bow there. I'm just flipping it over just for the camera's sake, so I can try to keep my hands out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. So again, now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make sure this area is glued up. Sometimes it's easier to do little bits at a time to make sure that you're really catching. Because you can see a cut sock will have a tendency to fold. That's why if you have a surface that you're gluing on, it's much easier, because then you've got that, again, wax paper, a silicone mat. It's much easier to like press and glue. So now I'm going to continue on, making sure I'm getting a good solid line of glue, folding over, pulling my tops down as I go. I have just the little tip now. So I'm going to glue that tip up, folding it down. and just pinching it to make sure I've got that glued. And again, we want to wait a little bit here because we really want this glue to set. We don't have to be in a hurry. So I'm just gonna, let's just set that off a little to the side now to let that continue to glue. Take the glue off your fingers. This has set long enough for the hands. So now I'm just gonna carefully kind of put my fingers in there and push. I like to turn things inside out. I take my thumb, I put my thumb all the way in it, and then that can help me push the tip as we just flip this carefully inside out. Want to be a little gentle, but you know, if you glued well enough, it's going to stay together. And you're going to see a really nice, it gives you a really nice seam. So that's going to be on the bottom anyway. So even though I'm going to show that up close, even though you can see the glue kind of showing through there, no one's going to see that because we're going to push that kind of on the inside. So no one's really going to see it. So this is just a really nice way to do that. And it makes like a point, so it looks like a hand. If you wanted to stuff the hands, you could. I liked the ears not stuffed and the arms not stuffed. I just really liked the look of that. If you wanted your ears to stand straight up, then yes, you could stuff them. And that's kind of how the bunny would look with ears up. If you wanted to make them a little more whimsical, you could take a piece of pipe cleaner and put that in before you finished off the bottom, you know, and then you could have ears that could bend if you wanted to, you know, that could be cute. I wanted a floppy eared bunny. So there's a lot of different looks that you can do that. So again, stuff it, or even if you didn't stuff it, put a pipe cleaner up through so that that would allow you to bend it. And again, if you wanted the arms stuffed, you could. I liked just the flat look of it. So I don't plan to stuff it. So now we're going to turn this other one as well. Bringing it in. And you can see, like I said, the terry cloth is kind of cute if you wanted it to have a feathery look, but then you do have to kind of trim the seams off, but it's not to say that you can't. If when you turn your hands back around, you know, if you're looking at your seam and you're kind of pulling at it and you realize that, oh, you missed a spot. I did not. I just have glue seeping here. I didn't miss anything. But if you had a reel, the first time I made this, I had some missing. So if you did miss some spots, flip it inside out again and just re-glue. Close that up, let it dry, and then flip it back inside out. So that it's easily missed. But again, the way I'm going to put my arms on, I'm going to basically fold that seam in a little bit. So you're going to have a nice finished edge on both ends. So you're not even going to really see that glue line the way we're going to put it on our bunny. And like I said, automatically the way the toe of the sock happens to be, it just lends itself to a nice arm shape. So now we have our finished arms. Again, if you wanted to stuff it, you can. I like the look of unstuffed. So I'm going to just set those aside again because I believe by now this should all be dry. This is a little harder to flip in. This is where I really suggest taking your thumb, kind of gathering it on like the old-fashioned nylons that some of us used to wear, putting it on that way, poking it through with your finger. I'm going to do just both ears and then finagle so it looks weird, but I'm not going to try to do one ear and then the other ear. I'm going to just get myself in there to get myself turned as close to inside out as I can. Right back, right side in. Because then it's just a little easier because then you've got it and you can pull. So then you're just moving it through, getting it inside out, right side, from inside out to right side in. Pulling up my ears. And because we glued right to the tip, it gives a nice thicker part there. It does give it a strength for your ears to help it flop around, you know, and here's where you can check to see, did I catch all my areas? To see if I caught it with glue. Now here's a good example right here. I did not. So you can see how easy it is to do that. Right here, I did not catch that. So I'm going to flip that back inside out again, because I do want, especially on the ears, it's not so important on the hands, but for the ears, you really do want to make sure it catches in there. So I'm just going to go to that spot. I'm going to say, yep, it just didn't catch. Put some glue, that little spot, push it down. And as I always say, there are no mistakes in crafting, just creative opportunities. Nothing you ever try to make can't be fixed. It may turn into something completely different than what you were thinking, but it can always be fixed. So I'm just going to kind of make sure that gets closed down. Blow on it a bit just to really make it, because I don't want to waste your time by waiting. So I'm gonna, if I were doing this at home, I would have waited a little bit longer to make sure that it dried, but I want to keep the video going. So a little bit of glue is sticking out, but that's all right. So you just move it around. Same thing to the other side. Manipulate it. Get it even and in order. So just, you have to move it around because you can feel where you've glued. It gives it a nice edging. If you really wanted to be fancy, you could take a thin ribbon, outline that ribbon if you wanted to. But there you have the top part of your bunny. Just manipulate it around until you can get it to really kind of lay evenly. The glue will make it want to sit a little funny, but it's flexible. So you can see I'm just moving it around. So now I have my floppy ears. Still kind of looks like a foot, but the way I cut it, but he's cute. So there are your ears. You're going to now take all of your fluff, your polyfill fluff. Again, if you decide that you want to put a pipe cleaner chenille stick in your ears to make them floppy, then don't stuff it yet. Make sure you go get that, you know, get yourself a stick to do that. If you want to stuff your ears, if you want them standing straight up, you can do that too. I want mine floppy, so I'm not going to put fluff in my ears. If you were, do little pieces of fluff and then take a pencil and help, and then that helps push it up. But I'm not going to do that. And when you work with fluff, the trick is you want to work with smaller pieces of fluff. You don't want to take the whole big thing to chunk it in. So you want to take just a small little handful. We're just going to stick it right up to the top. I'm going to poke just a little bit to the start of the ear and a little bit to the start of the ear just to help them lay better. But again, you want to take little pieces and don't pack too tightly. So when you pack it too tightly, you get really weird stuffing. It makes it look weird. And I gave you some extra, so you may not be using all of your fluff, depending on how tight you packed it in there. So you want to get it enough where we tie the ribbon, you're going to have a little bit of a separation of your head versus your body. So even though that's stuck, I'm going to put more in there because I really kind of want my body to be full. And you're going to just stuff it right to the edge. And this is where you can kind of move it around. Again, we're going to tie the ribbon around the neck, so that will give the definition of your head, depending on what side you want. And to the bottom. So I think I've stuffed mine. I'm pretty happy with the stuffing that I have in here. I think I'm good. I've moved it around where it's not weirdly lumpy. It's okay. And I've left a little bit of room where I can push that down. Now we're going to put in the marbles. With this bunny, I first put the marbles in the plastic bag. I kept the plastic bag and I stuck it in thinking, oh, they won't roll all over the place. But what I found is I couldn't mold the plastic bag enough where I wasn't seeing it basically square and jutting out. I didn't want that. So because it's going to be square enough with the bottom of how we're going to glue it. So these are just loose marbles at the bottom. So you're going to take your marbles out of the bag. And we're going to put them at the bottom. Again, you can use rocks, anything that's going to give it a little bit of weight. So go outside, go for a nature walk, find some rocks, wash them up. Be very careful if you ever pick up rocks from, especially like parking lots, you know how you see all the rocks. Sometimes there's some really pretty rocks. If you do ever pick any of those up and use them, make sure you wash them, because they put pesticides on them so the bugs do not get in them. So anytime you're going to use rocks for crafting like that, make sure you wash them with soap and water. Good public service announcement. All right. So with all of you, I put all the marbles in one bag. I hadn't done that yet on mine. So you're just going to want to make sure that you're in the middle. So I have one ear on one side, one ear on the other, just so I know I'm basically in the middle. I have my rocks, my marbles you can see on top. Make sure they're all there. I am going to take the center right here. This is where it gets a little awkward. I'm going to do it in pieces again. I'm going to take a little bit of glue gun. Put some glue there. Bring this up. Fold this over. Again, try not, because it is hot glue, try not to burn yourself. Bring it over. And because it is so easy to burn yourself, that's why I'm saying do just a little tiny bit to fold it over to just catch it. Just so you have a little bit more control now. Now, because I have that not flying all around. Now I have more control. I'm going to flatten this part out, kind of make it a triangle. Push it over, and you're just basically sealing up your bottom. I'm going to put some more hot glue. Again, careful because it's very easy to burn yourself. I say that with a lot of experience. This is especially where a pencil or a chopstick comes in handy, because you can see I can easily just roll that around. I've got a little edge sticking up here. I'm going to close that off. No one's going to see the bottom, so it doesn't really matter what it looks like on the bottom. But you definitely want it glued just so it's not falling apart. So now it looks like that. I've got my fold over. I've got my fold here, almost like you're wrapping a present. Here, I'm going to take this, pull this one over, again, kind of like wrapping a present. I'm going to seal that up. I'm going to put my glue here. Pull this up and over, hold it down. Again, with the pencil, chopstick, again, those silicone fingers, just moving it around. And getting it all the way down. And because now it's kind of cooled down, I can move it around just to make it a very nice, even seam. Again, it's not pretty, but no one's going to see your bottom. If you really wanted to, you could cut a round piece of felt or something and set it on there. But when it sits up, no one's going to see that part. So you can see, move it around this way. Now you can, if you had any marbles escape, you can push them around, get them to go back down to the bottom. And you can see you got a nice little bunny sitting there. So looks like a little package. You know, if you need to add more glue in just to really secure it, go ahead and do that. And again, if you wanted to cut a piece of material, scrap material that you have at home, you could put that on there too, but I think that's fine. So now you just need to look at your bunny and decide, well, where do I want a face? What side do I like better? Looking at your ears, seeing how your ears are hanging. Do I want to flop my ears over this way and let that be the face? Look at it from this side. I can see I have like two kind of little lines there. Would I rather have that be where my seams are going on the inside and kind of going out, moving them around? You know, which way do I want my bunny to go? Because then that's whatever you decide is going to be the face part of your bunny. That's where you can glue your eyes, and you can glue the tail on the other end. So you just kind of manipulate it around. I like the points facing front. So I'm gonna go this way, I think. So I'm going to decide that I want my bunny facing this way. In your packet, you had bunches of ribbon. So they're not exactly even, and everybody has different ribbon. So whatever ribbon you have, I'm just trying to get it so it's in the frame here. I'm going to just try to make these equal. So at least I somewhat have enough on each side. So I've got a little bit of a space there, a little bit of a space there, but kind of even. one on top of the other. You decide how you want to do it. One on top of the other. That's going to be your ribbon. So once you've got that, set that aside for now, and you've decided that you want your face. You're going to then take your hands. I forgot, so I'm sorry I showed you the ribbon. We didn't need that part yet. We're going to hide what we're going to do right now with that ribbon. That's why some of the ribbon's a little thick, and that's why we didn't care about a finished edge here. We're going to put the hands on. Now they may seem too long, but they're not. Take the edge that has the glue, have that be face down, and kind of turn it in a little bit so you can see. I really want a nice edge. Clean edge here, clean edge here. So I can just move. I'm just kind of flexing the glued end in there. I'm going to do the same thing for this side. So I've got my glued edges in, lying in. So that way I'm going to have my little bunny arms. Depending on how you stuffed your bunny, that's going to depend on how you're going to glue your arms on. Remember, there'll be a separation up here for his head, his or her head. But depending also on what you want your bunny to hold makes a big decision too. If you want it glued to the egg, like this one, then it doesn't really matter. You're just going to glue it to the egg. I'm going to show you how to glue it. You look at your hands. I like the way this almost looks like a perfect triangle. If I tried to do that again, it probably would not happen. This one didn't really get as triangularly as I would like. So obviously one glue is going to be on the bottom. One glued edge is going to be on the top to be able to glue them together, but just turn. See how I'm manipulating that so it's on the inside, so you're not going to see it as much. I'm going to lay that down. And I'm going to lay this one down. If you want your bunny to have interchangeable things for your hands, so I'm going to take that tip. I'm going to put a drop of glue. And I'm going to put the other tip right on top. And just hold it for a few seconds here. This is if you want to be able to take things in and out of your hands, of your arms. This gives it just a little circle. And then as we lay that down, you're not going to see that glued edge because we'll move that in more. So then we're going to come to the bunny and say, all right, about how much space do I have? This is where it comes in handy, where you have your egg. So you start with your egg. I would put your egg in the center, wrap your hands, grab it from the back to say, where do I need to glue my arms? The nice thing with this material is it's stretchy. It's a sock. It's stretchy. So I know I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it like that just so I know how much space I want to have to glue that in. And again, I really don't want that glued edge to show. So I'm just going to keep folding it until my glued edge doesn't show. I'm going to put my egg in so I know how much space I need. I'm going to turn it around. And I'm going to glue it. I just changed my mind on which side I wanted my face. So I'm going to keep that in there just to give me a reference of where I need to glue, holding it like that. So we're going to overlap. So right there, I know it originally before my egg popped out, I knew it came there. So I'm going to draw my glue, glue my edge down. I'm going to take my glue. I'm going to just go inside a little bit as well. Push that over. No one's going to see this because we are going to put the ribbon back here. So no one's going to see that back part. I'm going to do the same now. I'm going to put my egg back in there so I know how much leeway I need to have. So I can almost touch them. I'm going to put more glue there. Bring it over. Fold it around. Put some glue in here. Fold that around. Again, I'm not worrying about finishing this nicely because I'm going to have the ribbon here. So it's going to hide this edge. If you really were not wanting to put it, I just think it looks weird to have the arms connected in the back. So that's why the ribbon is going to be covering this. Without having a ribbon there, I don't know how that wouldn't look weird. All right, I'm just going to push on it now just to make sure that's really in there. I can pop that egg out. I don't need that anymore. So then that's, you have like a floppy arm set. Now we're going to take a ribbon, put it in half. You're going to be able to tie it here to cover that. This is where you also need to decide. For here, you can see the back where I covered the ribbon, covered the arms with the ribbon, made it wide, but I wanted it folded over and narrow for my neck. And I wanted my tassel bow to be on the side because I wanted this to kind of be centered. If you don't want the bunny to hold anything, you could put the tassel right down and have that inside. I want to have it on the side. So I'm going to have my ribbons lining up here. My bunny is on the side. I know it's in the middle now. And again, it doesn't matter that much to have it be in the middle because it's the shabby chic look. But you can see I'm covering the arms. I'm just going to tie this. The two big ribbons. I'm going to tie it. Again, I'm going to just fold it a little bit. I like the way that ribbon looks. So I'm going to have kind of both ribbons showing at the same time. I just tied it once because I want to be able to have this be a little loose. So I can now put some glue here to cover the very big bump of where my arms are. I want my ribbon to cover that part. So I glued it. And now I'm going to just glue my ribbon over that. It's not going to cover everything, but at least it looks much neater on the back side there. So I just put that little tiny bit of glue to cover the bump part of their hands. So now I can turn this around. You're giving your definition to your head by tying your neck. So I'm tightening to give it my head versus my body. I think that's a good looking head. So now I'm going to tie this in a knot. What I did to fringe is I just took my scissors once I had this all tied, because it's much easier to do it when it's tied. So now I'm just going to take the ribbon here. I'm going to cut little strips into it. You don't have to, you can tie a bow. I'm going to just do 3. I'm going to turn that into 3 pieces. Just tying up, cutting up part way. I'm going to do the same thing to this side. Make sure you're not push the other stuff out of your way. Make sure you're not cutting into your arms or your other piece of ribbon. And again, it's shabby chic. So we want the strings. We want it to just kind of hang, make it fun, make it into a tassel. Same thing with this. I'm finding with this length, 3 seems to work. I don't want to go any thinner. Then it might have a tendency to rip off. And again, I'm going to go just carefully making sure I've got my hands behind it. So I'm not cutting into anything else. I'm just bringing it up. And then you're just going to arrange it so it's going to lay nicely. You know, play around with your knot of how you want that to hang. But that gives you a really cute tassel. This kind of went up a little bit. As you can see, I like it when things happen like this, because then you can see how to fix them. So I'm just going to push my arms back up. I just want to put a little bit more glue there so I can hold that down a little bit more, just to have it look a little better. Hold that down. So now you can see I've just covered that, but my tassel is going to cover a lot of that too. With your 3 beads, or like I said, you could use buttons, you can use beads. They all have these little flower designs on them, which were really cute. You can decide, I want just the purple eyes. I just want it to be flat. So I'm going to actually hold the 2 holes. I'm going to hold those. I'm going to glue, put a little drop of glue where the daisy is, because I don't want my eyes, I don't want my daisy to show. Look at my little bunny and decide where I want an eye. Same thing with the other one. I think they're cute when they're really close together. It gives a little bit more of a whimsical look when eyes are really close. To me, it kind of gives a sweet look. If you're sewing, again, you would probably sew your eyes first. I like the daisy part of the nose, so I'm going to keep that part showing. My design choice, I'm going to keep that showing and put the little nose where it shows. I chose not to do whiskers. If you want to take a Sharpie or a pencil or a thin line of paint or any other kind of thin marker, you could draw some whiskers on. I kind of liked her without. The final part is to take your pom-pom, because what's a bunny without a tail? That glue stick lasted a long time. I need to re-glue. Get another glue gun in here, glue stick. And we're going to take the bunny tail, get some glue on there, put the tail on. That's why you don't want to do the tail until the end, because you want to see how the bunny is sitting on your table, of where you want it to go. I keep assigning it as her because it looks like a girl to me. I don't know why, but I'm assigning my bunny a her. So there she is. She has the ears, the tassel, which you can flip around. If you even want to make that more shabby, you can fringe it even more with the strings. Now with this, I can keep the egg in. I could, like I said, I found these really cute carrots. So if I wanted to flip it out, she could hold some of the carrots. You can do different things for the seasons with the silk flowers. Really cute to hold the silk flowers. So basically you could switch out what you want your bunny to hold. And again, if you didn't want your bunny to ever change holding, you can see that I just glued my hands. I put the egg there and I just glued the hands to the side. I glued it so you could see the whole egg. I didn't put the tips together. So that can really show you the difference of how the eggs look, of how they're holding. This looks like her hands are crossed over. This is holding on. And depending on, you can see that I cut my arms a little longer. That's why this one's a little taller than this one. Just depends on how much you give for your arms. But they both look kind of the same in the back. This one didn't get a tail yet. I have to glue a tail on. Tailless with a tail. So there is your little spring bunny. And I hope you had.
Kim, were you going to do the ear tie for this one?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot all about the tie. You're so right. I'm so sorry. Yes, you have another piece of ribbon, the tiny thin piece of ribbon. I forgot all about that. And you have a long piece of twine. What you want to do with the twine is take your twine, fold it in half, and then fold it in half again. So it's thicker. With this, just tie it into a bow. So I'm going to go down a little lower. So you've got enough to, tie. Bring it up into a bow. So just like you're tying your shoelaces. It is much easier to tie it into a bow before you cut it than when you cut it, because then you have it all together. And by cutting it, I mean these edges right here. So now that I've cut it, I can cut the strings there. So now I've got the strings hanging down. So I have just a tiny, tiny little bow. And again, you tie that just like you're tying your shoes, just a tiny little bow. We're going to do the same thing to the ribbon. Start down a little lower. Just tie it like you would normally tie a shoelace. Manipulate it around so it's looking halfway decent. I'm just pulling it down more so my ribbon hangs a bit more than the bow. So you can see that's tied into just a bow as well. So on the back of that, put your drop of glue. I liked it glued right in the middle. It hides the glue seam if you had one sticking up on top of your head, but it also, I think, just looks good in the middle. You could have that on just one ear if you want. So we've got that glued, and then I like to glue them separately instead of tying them together, because then you really have a lot more control over how big your bow is, how long your strings are, where your strings are. So that's why I tied the bow, glued that. Now I'm going to put some glue on the back of the knot of that. Poke that in. So I've placed it. So they're hanging around. If for some reason, the way you tied your bow, if it's too much in your bunny's face, just the way the knot was, then take a little drop of glue and put the fabric where you want it. This one tied actually really nicely for me. This one I did have to glue down because it was just laying right in the bunny's face. So this one happened to be lying nicely. And again, you can fluff it up. Put it like that. So I'm so sorry, little bunny, that I forgot your bow. So now that is what the little bunny's bow looks like with the tail on the bunny. So now I will say we've got the bunny done. I hope you enjoyed making the little bunnies. And again, any kind of socks, the fuzzy socks work really good, like the funny fuzzy socks. Because they're smaller, the fuzzy socks are usually the smaller socks like that, but because they come in a pair, use one for the bunny's body, use the other sock, cut it in half, use half for the ears and half for the arms. And then that way you'd have a fuzzy bunny. So any kind of socks with patterns, have fun with it. So I hope you enjoyed this month's Crafting with Kimberly, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.